We don't do that here.
Welcome back to the ultimate fucking casual. Before we get into all the MMA stuff, we talked briefly last time about the Knockout Chaos. That's a fucking ridiculous name. Very cool graphics, though. Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Holy shit, did that deliver. Okay.
It did. That ended up being a very good card. And
yeah, it was.
Like, actual depth to a boxing card. You don't see that often.
Yeah, so I just cherry-picked on these for the fights that are on it. If someone listening, if you want to see like the results of everything else, go to the boxing calendar and then hit the Knockout Chaos event, and all the results will be there. But one that kind of a sleeper, I wasn't expecting it to be this good. I thought it was going to be a little bit more amateurish, points style fighting. Israel Madrimov from Uzbekistan, if I'm not mistaken. And then he stops Magomed Korbanov of Russia in the 5th for one of the 154-pound titles that was vacant. So that was pretty fun. I think the Uzbeks have been a bit on fraud watch. Like, they've been dropping the bag lately. But Madrimov pulls it out.
That part of the world is really kind of coming alive in combat sports over the last, 15 years.
Yeah, the Central Asian republics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kazakhstan, Triple G paved the way there. I want to say he was the first Kazakh combat athlete that I was ever aware of.
Mm-hmm. And then, obviously in MMA, we've got, Dagestan is basically the new hub of mixed martial arts, it seems.
Yeah. Okay, bit of controversy. Ray Vargas, Nick Ball. Did you see this one?
I saw only parts, so I can't. I saw that Ball got 2 knockdowns late in the fight. So I was surprised that he still drew in spite of that.
Yeah, it was the controversy, I would say, and I think more people agree with my position on this than not. But Ray Vargas, the first knockdown was the question mark. It looked like they were in a clinch, and Nick Ball threw Ray off of him, and then he just barely tagged him with a punch as he was already falling from a throw. So, but it was scored a knockdown. Another bit of controversy was how grimy the whole fight was. This was not a one-sided thing. Like, Nick Ball was doing a lot of wrestling type of shoving and trying to throw, but Ray was also not doing himself any favors by constantly clinching as Nick Ball got close.
So just a real kind of a lot of dirty boxing from the sounds of it.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough affair, and a lot of people thought that Nick Ball should have been docked a point from just how rough and tumble he was being with the whole situation. And I don't necessarily disagree, but like I said, Ray Vargas was being a fucking idiot. So, all right, moving up, Joseph Parker gets the majority decision over Zhang. This one's also question mark.
See, I don't know. I watched most of this fight, and I've already forgotten what I'm about to ask, but didn't Zhang score a knockdown against Parker at one point?
2, I think.
He scored 2. Okay. Because I remember, yes, okay, that I remember it now. Both of those were early, but Parker just kept piling on points in the later rounds, right?
Yeah, it was one early and one I think was more late. Regardless,
okay.
It was still... I thought that second knockdown was going to clinch it for Zhang, but apparently not. Still, Parker was legitimately boxing beautifully.
And I remember after the first knockdown, Zhang was in his corner like celebrating at the start of the next round, and like he comes out and had just his next 3 rounds were terrible.
Yeah,
Like the activity disappeared, and Parker was just jabbing him up.
Yeah, it was a classic Parker performance, and Zhang didn't. It's like Joyce wasn't able to adjust to Zhang. Zhang wasn't able to adjust to Parker, and Parker could not adjust to Joyce. I love boxing triangles; they're the best.
And what a career resurgence for Parker. At one point, probably before the Joshua fight, you could consider him a top 3 or 4 heavyweight, and then since then he's totally fallen off. But I mean, his last 2 wins have been against legitimate top 5 heavyweights. I mean, he's probably right back up there.
Yeah, that was one of the things. Even with this resurgence, like, do I want to see an AJ rematch? Like, yeah, I think I kind of do, but I don't think it goes any differently. Maybe Parker gets stopped this time. That would really be the only difference.
Yeah, I think the way AJ's fighting now, he would stop him. And I think this fight is likely to happen because the IBF has said they will strip the winner of the Usyk Fury fight after the first fight if they don't immediately fight Parker. And they're already Oh, was it Hrgovic?
Yeah, that's the one. They're the ones that strip more.
Different person, same situation. But,
yeah.
So, okay, well, in that case, yeah, Parker might be kind of iced out here because there's no way Joshua's going to fight him if there's not like a vacant belt on the line or anything like that.
He does have the interim WBO, so that would put him in a number 1 contender slot for whoever wins the first and or second one. Between Fury and Usyk, I mean.
Okay, so I guess Parker could be still on the radar for AJ if for whatever reason that WBO falls to him full time.
Yes, and if they were going to strip it, and if they do, they elevate Parker. Great, he has a title, or they make him fight for a vacant one, the vacant legitimate one. Then same difference, really. Fury versus Parker, though, that's one I'm not sure would happen, just because they both train with Andy Lee, and like they're pretty good buddies. So I don't know if that's something they would do.
I mean, Fury can make an enemy out of anyone. Like he can play the part of heel against anyone.
Yeah, he could.
So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm really not sure where he goes here now that it looks like all the major heavyweights are getting lined up to fight each other finally.
Last thing on this whole as we move up to AJ and Ngannou, Fury on the side, like sitting ringside, he's looking better, like as far as being in shape goes. But what stood out to me was he dyed his beard fucking black.
I did notice that. I was like,
weird.
What is? It was, yeah, it definitely made him stand out. I don't know. Did he not do that for one of the Wilder fights?
Not that I recall. I don't recall him ever dyeing his hair when he had it, or beard, ever. He might have.
Yeah, it's not a good look. He should just cut it off.
Yeah, if you're good, yeah, don't do that, man. Just rock the salt and pepper or whatever, the ginger and salt. I don't know, whatever he has going on. Just embrace it, dude. Don't do that. Look ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Actually, speaking of ridiculous, your fucking profile picture for the uninitiated. What do you have? What do you have now?
Oh, I have a slept, unconscious, waking up maybe sometime next week, Francis Ngannou.
It looks wonderful. It looks
like he saw God, honestly.
Yeah. He's like flat on his back, and he's chin to his chest, like he's kind of waking up out of a daze. It's a sad look for him, but they're always funny. You pick the funniest profile pictures.
Thank you. I'm glad my gimmick makes people laugh.
Yeah, it's always great. Anthony Joshua Francis Ngannou stopped That was a KO, like straight up KO in the second. And Joshua puts on, classic Roadman Femi. He's back, the Bagman. I'm not. Are people making too much out of this because of because Ngannou turns in a decent performance against Fury, who wasn't taking him seriously, and then that element of surprise is gone, and AJ sparks him into, and is it Ngannou's old MMA man?
I think it's a combination of kind of everything, because I think most boxing observers could realize Fury was out of shape, he didn't take the fight seriously, and then whereas Ngannou was throwing everything he could into that. I think AJ does deserve the credit he's been getting for, because I don't know, I guess at least for me, ever since probably during the Ruiz fights, even before the Usyk fights, I've kind of just been expecting him to disappoint, right? He comes back from the Usyk, his second Usyk loss, and he has this really boring decision against Jermaine Franklin or someone that no one's ever heard of before or since.
Yeah.
And then he has he goes and beats a Robert Helenius that showed up with a week's notice,
coming
what was
off
it, a month and a half of getting slept by Wilder or something like that.
Yeah, he had fought between Wilder and AJ.
That's true.
And it was he'd just come off 2 weeks from the end of that fight.
Right, but very short notice opponent. He did knock him out, but it was there wasn't a whole lot to be impressed by there, I don't think. But then he comes out and he looks good, a lot better against Wallin, and then he actually clutches up against a guy that really shouldn't be in the ring with them. The benchmark for someone elite, or one of the benchmarks, is do you clear the hurdles you should obviously clear? And Ngannou on paper, even if you take into account him doing better than expected versus Fury, he shouldn't be in the same ring with an elite boxer like Joshua that's got, is he coming up on 20 years of life experience in the ring or something like that?
Yeah.
In boxing from a pretty early age. He's an Olympic gold medalist. This is just a different class of striking. But, we were or my reservation was is his chin any good? Is he just going to is he going to get too reckless and get caught? But he wasn't. He was clean. He was patient, and he blew the guy out in 2 rounds. And I mean, that's what I expect from a top tier heavyweight, right? That's what I expect from any top tier boxer in any weight class. Is that kind of performance.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. This is Francis Ngannou. Whatever your opinions might be of him boxing, doesn't matter. AJ took it like a legitimate threat, a legitimate opponent, and he treated it as such, and he ended it as such. The way that you're supposed to. If it's a clown show, then fucking knock out the clown and make it clear this isn't the type of shit we should be doing. And I think that's what he was. That's kind of what his message was after in the post-fight interview. But does Ngannou keep boxing?
I sure hope not. The only other fight that really makes sense from a marketing perspective will be Wilder. But even with how bad Wilder looked against Parker, I think he might do Ngannou worse. He might get him out of there in a round.
Yeah.
Because all Wilder does is throw that right hand straight down the pipe. And if you look at Francis's stance in both fights, he's got this wide MMA stance, right? Which is something you need when you got to deal with kicks and elbows and takedowns, but it's not something you need in a boxing ring. You need to tighten that shit up.
Yeah, the right hand is what murked him.
So I don't know, especially if after a bad knockout like that, he may just want to, dust himself off and just go back in the ring and pick up an easy win against Ferreira, the new PFL heavyweight champion.
Yeah, maybe he could fight Parker. That wouldn't be too dangerous by comparison.
Yeah, but he could lose that fight. I mean, I think Parker would box him up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you really lose your whatever star power you did have in boxing. It would fade. And I'm actually really curious, what were the pay-per-view buys for this
I haven't seen
because
that would be
the
interesting
Fury
to know.
ones were dreadful. Like the Saudis paid up, like, they lost money in that fight.
Yeah. What's that dude's name? Turkey Al something or other? The director of sports in Saudi Arabia. He's a major boxing fan, apparently. I think fight sports in general. So if Ngannou wants to keep boxing, there's someone who will pay for it. Oh, but that's enough boxing talk, unless you have anything more.
Nope.
All right. Moving into the actual stuff. Oh, UFC 298. We've been holding this one in reserves. Summon your anguish and your heartache once again as we go from the bottom up. My fucking wife, Mackenzie Dern, gets the shit beaten out of her by Amanda Lemos. Very unfortunate, but what are you going to do? I think Dern came in on really short notice. Anthony Hernandez submits Roman Kopylov in the second. Merab Dvalishvili. I tried to remember that one. He beats Henry Cejudo by UD.
And, I mean, wrecked Henry Cejudo by the end of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it was a slow start, if I recall correctly, and then it just started pulling away.
Yeah, Cejudo got me thinking an upset was in play because he caught him with a check hook that had him rocked, but that was his one moment of success in the entire fight, I think. You know, Merab got back on his, shifted up a gear or two, and Cejudo couldn't keep up.
And because of this win, that Merab's in talks for Sean O'Malley's next defense, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we'll get to
he
Sean in a
has
bit.
to. Not just because, we will revisit this fight later on, but there's shared history between these two guys, and he's clearly the next best guy in his division after O'Malley. So, I mean, they have to make that fight next.
What's the shared history? I've heard them talk about it, but I don't know what it is.
So I can't remember what fight it was. I don't think it was the Sterling fight. It was when O'Malley came out in the Thriller jacket for one of his fights, and in the ring, he was in the ring celebrating, and he took it off and he tried to hand it to one of his buddies so he could shit talk Aljamain Sterling. Okay, this was Sterling's fight before he fought O'Malley.
Yes.
And so he takes it off.
That was Cejudo, right?
It may have been, yeah. So he takes off his jacket and he's getting in Sterling's face, and he tries to give the jacket to like one of his buddies, but Merab jumps in the ring and takes it from O'Malley unknowingly, throws it on and jumps on the cage, and he's like, taking the piss out of everything, like feeling the spotlight. And then O'Malley gets mad at him too, so now he's trying to shit talk two people at once.
Oh, I remember that now. Yeah, I remember that very clearly. I think O'Malley tried to pass it off, thinking that one of his boys was right next to him. Mm-hmm. And then Merab's like, "Yeah, no, my jacket." Excellent. So that's funny. That'll be fun. I think they should put that jacket on the line when they fight as well.
They should. Instead of the BMF, we're fighting for MJ's Thriller jacket.
Oh, man. All right. Ian Machado Gary. Ian Macucco Gary? No,
that's not bad. We can call him that.
Yeah, he gets the split over Jeff Neal. Oh. I don't remember this one very well.
It was you didn't miss much. So this was the kind of fight I expected Gary to come out and Jeff Neal's a solid fighter. He's kind of been relegated to more of a gatekeeper, but he's still the kind of guy that's going to really chin check, a prospect that's not
higher level
worthy
gatekeeper.
of standing with them, for sure.
Yeah.
But he, Machado just, safely kickboxed him to a decision. I wasn't super impressed by him. I was expecting kind of the wow moment there, but he just didn't bring it.
I remember him shit talking the crowd a lot in the
Yeah,
the
yeah,
post-fight
I know
interview.
they were. Yeah, I mean, they were. He was getting a lot of shit from fans about the whole, Cook stuff.
Yeah,
It was his first fight since all that came out. So, and I think his message was something like, y'all are booing me, but you're still tuning in to watch, so I win, basically, kind of that sort of stick.
oh, fun. And
So,
it kind of works, I guess.
dollar store McGregor.
Oh, right. Robert Whitaker, UD Paulo Costa. I remember this one being really, really fun.
Yeah, dude, Paulo Costa nearly knocked him out.
Yeah, Robert Whitaker pulled it out.
That was so insane. For as much shit as I've given Paulo Costa on this podcast, I can't deny that when he does awaken from hibernation and decide to fight, he turns in some of the more exciting fights just because he's so wild. He doesn't really run out of gas, or if he does, he catches his second wind. And I mean, it's just he is a blast to watch when he shows up.
And Robert Whitaker, RIP, Chiefs pick. Man, so this was the guy who he was supposed to be the next in line until he got bopped on his last fight, right?
Wait, what do you? Well, Whitaker was trying to claw his way back to a middleweight title shot because he had two opportunities against Adesanya and lost them. And then
He was climbing
he
back
fought,
up.
Right, the Duplessis fight would have given him another title shot, and he got cracked in that one.
Would Robert Whitaker have been able to do what Duplessis did against Strickland?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. Their styles are so different. Whitaker has almost got more of like a karate stance than Duplessis does. His wrestling isn't as good. His power isn't as good, but he's got a lot more smoother, more technical combinations that he throws. But he has a lot of looping punches, whereas Strickland's like, straight sniper. He throws everything down the pipe.
Yeah.
So that would have been interesting. I don't think Whitaker would have been able to chain wrestle him nearly as effectively. So I think Strickland may have actually won that by a close decision, but I mean, it's really hard to tell. I mean, we may be able to find out. I mean, it makes sense to make Whitaker versus Strickland soon as a next up contender fight.
Another would that be like a final eliminator?
It probably would be, because the winner of that would face the winner of Adesanya and Duplessis. The only other worthy contender out there is Jared Cannonier, and he's already fought. Like, I can't imagine they would make the Adesanya fight with him again. But I mean, he would also have rematches against Whitaker or Strickland, so I guess it just depends.
Actually, Vettori and Brendan Allen are fighting soon.
Yeah, those guys are not getting a title shot. I would be shocked. I'd be stunned
not
if either
right
of those
now,
guys
but...
got a. Well, I mean, if they got one, that's true. Yeah, I just meant like next. That's not going to happen.
Winner of Vettori Allen fights the loser of Whitaker Strickland. I don't know. I was gonna try to make some sort of hopscotch there, but it wasn't working.
I would guess the winner of that fight would get Jared Cannonier, and then from there they would get slotted into whatever line is coming up next.
Oh, do you know what's not coming up next? Alexander Volkanovski.
No.
That was a sad time. I have to go back and check, but I remember not being as confident in. I feel like I was not as confident in Volkanovski as a lot of people were. But I also did not expect this. This really took me by surprise. Topuria, his. I think I said it on the night of that. Let's say Topuria loses this, and this was like in the middle of the first or something, or towards the end of it. Topuria loses this, he could drop out of UFC, start boxing, and have a very good career. He would do really well. Like, his striking is amazing. I think so. Like, he's trained, his striking, his hands, he trains boxing. Like, Aspinall. That's what I was trying to think of. Similarly, like, they have really good hands. And
yeah, I think he's clearly the best boxer in the UFC right now. I mean, he does it, nearly perfectly. It's like he's adapted it really, really well to his sport. And, I mean, the time, like you saw when he got Volk up against the cage, like, I mean, you could see even his footwork was a much higher level than you expect from an MMA guy. Like, he had already cut off Volk's escape route before he threw that right hand that ended the fight. It's like he really had him dead to rights there.
Yeah, though, and what he did really well, like with the footwork as well, was just like dashing in, breaking distance, and getting into Volkanovski's face, forcing him to retreat to get, try to create distance so that he can throw something. And that was also part of his undoing. Was, I think, after so many of those, Volkanovski thought he had Topuria's rhythm, or what he was going to throw as he was backing up, and he misjudged, and good night.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that is Volk. I don't want to say Volk underestimates anyone, because his preparation for an opponent has always been his biggest strength. But just like, he didn't take it to the ground. He didn't even attempt to take it to the ground at all. And it's like, in that situation, why not just cover up? Like, realize this is where your opponent wants you.
Yeah.
Do something to keep him from succeeding rather than trying to get him back. And, Topuria does have really good wrestling, but I feel like Alex's ground and pound game and the way he's able to reverse positions, I feel like he would have done well to use some of that in this fight. And maybe he would have in the later rounds. We just never got a chance to see it. But
this is the one that we were talking live. If I'm
we watched this one live. Yeah, hearts broken in real time.
Yeah, I think I'll put that behind a paywall just because of the audio from the UFC in the background might cause a problem. But
yeah, and that's this is just a much harsher sport than boxing. It's stars rise and fall a lot quicker, and Volk, he's absolutely one of the best featherweights of all time, but unfortunately that just comes to an end very abruptly sometimes. And it's not the end of his career, but with 2 back-to-back knockout losses and him already talking about trying to come back soon, you really worry.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he could turn it around. I mean, people don't realize, or a lot of people don't realize that Jose Aldo, he gets knocked out by Conor McGregor. Oh, his career's over. Well, he goes on for another several years, and I think he reclaims the belt at a certain point, and he has a lot of really good, entertaining fights. So, there could be a return to form ahead of Volk, but for now, Topuria owns this division, and for the foreseeable future, he's going to continue to own it.
So I was thinking about how this was going. If I'm not mistaken, Volkanovski was having a good first round. He was using his legs to try to break down Topuria's legs, which I think that's one way that you could try to take away your opponent's strengths. If Topuria can't use his feet or as much as he wants, then there's a good way. But I think you're right. Taking him to the ground would have been better, because just standing up, like, why are you doing this? It doesn't seem to make sense.
Well, it's not that Volk can't have success, but he has to pick the moments that he decides to strike with Topuria. He's not a guy that you could brawl with, I don't think. Because he's used to fighting guys like Yair Rodriguez, who's their striking games just aren't comparable. And it's you could stand in the pocket with someone like Yair if you're Volk, but you can't do that against Topuria, someone who clearly has an edge over your game.
Yeah. thinking about this with the BMF situation coming up. I was thinking like Topuria versus Max Holloway. That would be a really good stand-up between the two. Feels like it would be to me. He's not up there in the ranks, but Arnold Allen. Say what you will about the guy. I think he's durable and he's tough. I think he would make it a fight. He wouldn't necessarily win it, but
I actually need to check our rankings. Where
I'm on UFC.
do people follow?
So Topuria's the champ. Volkanovski number 1, Holloway 2, Brian Ortega 3, Yair 4, and Evloev 5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them making a second Rodriguez fight, so maybe Evloev or Josh Emmett. I mean, goddamn, I don't want to see Volk get knocked out again, but maybe not Josh Emmett, but someone in that range you could make.
Bryce Mitchell?
No, there's no way you can give him Bryce Mitchell. He's ranked 10th. And he just got knocked out badly by Josh Emmett.
That's right. How's that freedom working out for you, Bryce? He's the freedom guy, right?
Yeah, he is the freedom guy.
That's what I thought.
Bible man.
Yep. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't misspeaking there.
Yeah, you probably have to give him Allen, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say anything more on 299.
Nope, none for me.
All right. I think this one would go a little bit more quickly. The PFL versus Bellator situation that was in Saudi Arabia. 298 was on the 17th. No shit. This one was on the 24th, so the following week. Just some shit from the bottom up. That's kind of fun. Clarissa Shields beats Kelsey DeSantis by split decision. She is related to exactly who you think she is. Biagio Ali Walsh, he wins his professional debut against Emmanuel Palacios. All right. Aaron Pico stops Henry Corrales, but the PFL guy was not in the mix for whatever reason. AJ McKee submits Clay Collard in the first. Yoel Romero, the Bellator dude, beats Thiago Santos of PFL. Pretty sloppy fight. not the most entertaining.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like I was the ultimate casual for this card. I've only seen little bits and pieces of each of these fights.
Then you've seen more than enough.
The only thing I know is that Bellator swept the main event except for the heavyweight fight, which is the only one that mattered.
Yep. That was the one. That was the Francis Ngannou sweepstakes. Just before we get to that, Vadim Nemkov, the Bellator dude, he submits Bruno Capelazza. Jason Jackson, the Bellator champ, he beats the ever-loving fuck out of Ray Cooper. Stops him in 2. Johnny Eblin, decision over Impa Kasanganay. I think I did that one right. And Renan Ferreira knocks out Ryan Bader in like 10 seconds. Not 10 seconds, but it was really quick. And Ryan Bader... I was going to save this little dig for the quick discussion on the ONEFC 166, but if this is the end of Ryan Bader with PFL, if it is, I expect to see him in ONEFC if he's going to continue fighting.
Oh, is that right? Is that more his competition speed?
Yeah, the heavyweight division there is abysmal, and Ryan Bader could probably own it for a little bit, as long as his body holds up. But there you go. Yep, Bellator sweeps Sans Bader. Quickly on the first, it was ONEFC 166. Now, this one I brought to your attention pretty late last night. I watch this fucking shit so that you don't have to. Amir Ali Akbari.
Taking one for the team.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. He wins by disqualification. Arjan Bular was disqualified. So they do this thing like soccer or football. They card people. So 2 yellow cards, and then you get disqualified with a red. So each yellow card costs you 10% of your fucking purse. So you lose 20% of your purse, and then Bullard gets fucking thrown out.
And this was because he wasn't like fighting, right?
Yeah, he was not. Herb Dean was the referee. ONEFC has a thing where it's like the referees like more action. You have to fucking fight. Like none of like, and it's not like Bullard was only slightly retreating and they're just demanding blood. Like Bullard was refusing to engage. It was a really terrible fight to watch, but I had to see what happened. I had already written down the results before I started watching it, but good lord, that was so funny.
Normally the concept of a yellow card would be kind of distasteful, but like if you're not fighting, like I just remembered like the Romero Adesanya fight, like, or the Ngannou Derek Lewis fight. Like if there were cards like that in the UFC, we might have actually gotten a fight out of it.
Yeah, that would be a good way to put it. This is not. This was pretty rough. Another disqualification took place in MMA male strawweights. It's like minimum weights in boxing. Like they are comically small. So Joshua Pasio reclaims the title from Jared the Monkey God Brooks. I believe UFC has a Monkey King, but do they have a Monkey God?
Man, we need to make a crossover event between the two promotions to figure out who's really the monkey overlord.
Jared Brooks looks like Jason Statham, but very small.
I need to look him up now.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He really tries to put on the tough guy look, which I'm not going to pretend. Like at this point in my life, Jared Brooks would probably kick my ass. He probably would. Despite the size disparity, he'd figure it out. But nonetheless, like he tries to look tough, and it just is not working. So the disqualification came because Brooks picked up Pasio and slammed him onto his head, which is not allowed. So slams onto the head, neck, or spine those are the bugaboos there. Whew.
That seems like a difficult one to enforce, especially if someone's attempting to choke you out, like a standing guillotine or something. You can't dump them on their head or something.
That's actually how it's...
Or not a standing guillotine, but like say they've got like a rear naked choke, or they're attempting some kind of choke from the front, and they've got their legs locked around your body. Like you can't slam them and get them off you.
I think that I'm not sure, but you were close to how this happened. Brooks had a standing rear naked choke on Pasio. It wasn't working, so he puts his legs down, drops his hands, wraps on his waist. He picks him up, and then he's gonna slam him, and like that's how it happened. That's what started it. Was an attempted standing choke. So that was fun. The co-main. Have you found Mini Statham?
I have found Mini Statham. He's absolutely jacked.
Yeah, he's a little fucking monster. Like I said, that guy would probably beat my ass, but whatever. I'm still gonna make fun of him. Tang Kai, the champion at featherweight, consolidates with Tan Le, the interim champion. It was a stoppage in 3. This was another one where they pulled cards, but the ref carded them both. And what kind of bugged me about it, if I recall correctly, it was like in the first round. So that's kind of stupid. Like, come on. You're not even really giving them a chance. And they were definitely engaging a lot more than that heavyweight fight that I just described. But consolidating titles, whatever, there you go. Here's one, maybe somebody to put on a radar. Anatoly Malikin beats Rainier de Ridder to win the MMA middleweight championship. And he is a 3-division simultaneous MMA champion.
Whoa.
That's pretty weird. Middle, light heavy, and heavy. So, like I said, Ryan Bader, if you want a title, here you go. Malikin's a fucking lunatic, for sure. Love your energy.
That's a pretty amazing feat.
Yeah.
That's a really amazing feat.
Even in one, like, it doesn't matter what the promotion is. Like, that's fucking crazy. And Anatoly, if you just look up the post-fight interview where he won this, and you'll understand why he was able to do this. The guy is fucking crazy.
Man, he's built like a brick shit house.
Yep, that dude is a fucking monster. Trains like a fucking machine, and a fucking machine. Probably. I don't know. Ask Mrs. Mulligan. Still, this is one of those guys where I think like you can keep an eye on him. Like, this is a talent outside of UFC. That he's pretty intense. On our previews, not a whole lot, just some fight nights. I figured out what the difference between 1 Friday fights and 1 fight nights are. So fight nights are more not numbered events, but they are sort of marquee events. And Friday fights is development, where they don't.
Oh, much more prospects.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of info on it because they don't necessarily know who's ready until maybe there's a crowd of people outside the stadium saying like, "I'll fight for a fucking bucket of chicken" or something. I don't know.
Well, that's like that's genuinely how a lot of Muay Thai fights happen.
Yeah.
To my understanding, like they fight every weekend, and it's just like, I don't want to call them journeymen, but like they're just guys who fight, and they do it for a decent little paycheck that, you know, it pays their bills,
right? Or it adds to their income, yeah.
But it's just, that's the culture up there. People just show up and fight all the time, and crowds will just gather for anyone.
It's a true sense of the word journeyman, or I guess a jobber, not as like a derogatory term. They're ham and eggers. They fight for a living, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On the 16th, coming up, I don't see a whole lot on here worth stopping for.
There's between these two cards, I see like 2 fights worth talking about. So
quickly, on the 16th, Pani Kianzad versus Macy Chiasson. Christian Rodriguez those are bantams. Christian Rodriguez versus Isaac Dolgarian. Feathers, Thiago Moises versus Brad Riddell. Lightweight, Josh Kulibau versus Danny Silva. Featherweights, Nathan Levy versus Mike Davis. Lightweights, Ovince Sampru versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. I've seen him fight before. Light heavyweights. And Tai Tuivasa, I call him Shui because you guys told me he drinks out of a shoe. Versus Marcin Topuria at heavyweight.
Yeah, and that main event is unfortunately the only thing on this card worth watching. This looks like a pretty dire Apex card.
Yeah, it does.
And the main event may not even be good. I mean, Tuivasa, he's had his like 15 minutes of fame, but he's had some bad knockouts, and I don't know. I'm not expecting a whole lot from this fight.
And he's ranked 9th with all of that considered.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's going to do it for this portion of Ultimate Fucking Casual. We will have the previews and some other recaps mixed in the next one. That'll be coming out a week from now. I mentioned a little bit, or I, kind of alluded to putting that our conversation that we were having live while we were watching 298. Putting that behind a paywall. So if you want, it's not, the video itself is not up yet, but it will be shortly. Now that I've remembered to do it. But patreon.com, you need to look for LVX MediaNet, and that'll bring you to us. If you do like if you want more boxing talk, there is a tier that combines both the MMA and boxing content for a discount, so that's kind of cool. LVXmedia.net if you want to check out some of the other stuff we get up to. I just had a really cool interview with somebody for Progressive Patriots on a certain veterans issue that is kind of gets swept under the rug, and yeah, lots of all the other shows are firing on all cylinders, so go check it out. Questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to bring up, anything you want to mention, 833 Lux Pods. Call or text, it's anonymous either way. If you want your voicemail cut in, let me know. If you don't, also let me know. Either way. So, if you're not an asshole, it'll be fun to include your audio here. And last thing, if you could take a second to hit us with a rating. If you're not feeling 5 stars, you got my number. Goes straight to me. Let me know what it is that is missing that's keeping you from rating us 5 out of 5, and let me know what it is, and I will do my fucking hardest to earn the rest of those stars. That's gonna do it. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time.